I started collecting, I think now it's 12 or 13 years ago. And I think now I have about 1,500 different postcards from Kosovo. My name is Kenneth Andres. I am from Norway. I'm a professor of journalism and media studies at the University of Agder in southern Norway.
Në vizitën e tij të parë, Andresen e gjeti Kosovën në gjendje lufte. Ai u dërgua si zyrtar I shtypit nga NATO për të raportuar rreth temave të luftës, krizës dhe medias.
In 1999, I was asked if I could go 6 months to Kosovo in KFOR as a press and information officer. This was because I had some media background from being a journalist teacher, and the Norwegian army was sending its first officers to Kosovo after the war, including 4 press officers. And I was asked to put on a uniform, actually, and I got the degree of major, which was a little bit surprising for me, but that came with the job.
Në moshën 34 vjeçare, Kenneth filloi me punën si redaktor për të vazhduar më tutje me misionin e tij.
I then came to Pristina in the end of July, and I worked for 6 months in the Press and Information Center downtown, where it was very busy with a lot of journalists. First I was the editor of a newspaper called KFOR Chronicle, which is still running online now, but we started as a newspaper for the KFOR troops. So we did all the stories, we printed it in the old, what we called the Rilinja printing house.
Gjatë kësaj kohe, Kenneth banonte në një hapësirë të vogël dhome në qendër të qytetit. Edhe pse në mesin e vuajtjeve e dhimbjeve si shkak I luftës, ai vërejti se shqiptarët ishin shumë ikpritës.
Because of that, Norway was a part of the NATO military campaign, and the whole military operation, also Norwegians were involved in that. So in the media it was a lot about Kosovo, kind of the 6 months before the summer, like the spring of '99. That was in media all over the place. So I had some impression of Kosovo. I knew more about Bosnia because that has been longer in the news in Norway. But I knew that things were very bad in Kosovo also. So during the news broadcast, I studied, or I watched and I saw the refugees. We heard some very bad stories. So I didn't know really what to expect, but I knew that I was coming to a very different part of the world. I didn't work personally with the journalists so much. I met them informally, but in the press conferences it was interesting because after a presentation, for example, of news from KFOR, from UNMIK, from local politicians, most of the questions came from the international journalists. The Kosovar journalists were very polite. You know, they didn't ask many critical questions. They reported basically what was said, you know, in the paper. So maybe out of respect for the international community back then.
Lidhja e tij me Kosovën tashmë është e pashkëputshme. Kenneth është kthyer shpesh për të vënë në jetë projekte të ndryshme, duke bashkëthemeluar Institutin Kosovar për Gazetari dhe Komunikim dhe për të hulumtuar rreth temës së doktoraturës.
You know, I did field work in 4 different newsrooms: Gazeta Express, RTK, Rettiga, Radio Kontakt Plus in Mitrovica, and in Koaditora. And we were in the newsrooms there for many weeks, in the middle of discussions, smoking, you know, reporting night and day. It was very hectic. But I kept coming back because I liked kind of the spirit, the atmosphere. but also there were people with problems, but people are very open. So that for me has been a great place to do research, coming back many times. So I'll still come back because I feel this is kind of a home away from home.
3 vitet e fundit, së bashku me kolegun e Universitetit Agder në Norvegji, Abet Hoxha, vazhdon të jeti përfshirë në projektin më të fundit që tregon rëndësinë e historisë dhe si shoqëria evropiane e trajton atë.
I've been involved in a larger European research project called Repast, Rethinking the Past, Anticipating the Future. That's also together with Abit, and a whole international team of 10 countries. We've been actually studying how is the past influencing today's society. The way we look at the past, how does that influence media, culture, arts, political rhetorics, and also oral history? How are we influenced by what we see? And this place where we are now, which is an old, monument, a partisan monument, which is now in, let's say, not in good shape. It's not taken care of, because now there are other monuments from the 90s, which is more important, and it shows that the recent history from the 90s, from Uchikar monuments and from other recent monuments have kind of taken over the place. And we want to ask a question: why do we look at maybe World War II history in Kosovo? Why is that not so much important now as more recent history?
Ndër të tjerash, Andresen ka filluar koleksionimin e kartolinave me përmbajtje nga shumë vende të Kosovës, pasion përmes të cilit ka vërejtur ndryshimin e shoqërisë kosovare në sundime të kohës.
I started collecting, I think now it's 12 or 13 years ago, and I think now I have about 1,500 different postcards from Kosovo, old postcards, or kartolina, as it's, the old-fashioned postcards. The oldest one are over 100 years old, until 1999, then I stopped. And it's been fascinating to kind of study Kosovar history through postcards. I bought them online in online auction websites, and there are not very many others collecting postcards from Kosovo. So I've been pretty much alone of bidding. So that made it possible to buy many for not too expensive.
Sipas Kenneth, Kosova ka disa prej gazetarëve më të mirë në rajon, pasi që pavarësisht presionit me të cilin përballen, nuk din të dorëzohen. Për fund, ai na lë me mesazhin ka shpresë.